If you're a developer, you've definitely been here. You've just built this awesome new app. And now comes the big question. Where in the world do you actually deploy this thing in the cloud? It's a classic dilemma. So today, we're going to follow one developer's journey as they try to figure that out. And this is our hero for today, a Reddit user who goes by the name RuKindCucumber. And they said something that, I think we can all relate to. I'm a little out of my depth. Yeah, we've all been there, especially when you're jumping into the massive world of cloud computing for the first time.
So this is the question they posted. The big showdown, compute engine versus cloud run. In one corner, you've got compute engine. Think of it as your own powerful, super flexible virtual machine where you control everything. And in the other corner, cloud run. It's the sleek, modern, serverless option that's all about making your life easier. This is the choice we're going to break down.
All right, so our story kicks off with something every developer knows and loves, a tight deadline. We've got a developer with a brand new app built with Node.js and Nest.js, and the mission is simple: get it into production, like yesterday. So yeah, the pressure is definitely on. And let's look at the challenges here, because there are a few. The deadline is ASAP. It's their first time ever deploying to the cloud. On top of that, they admit they don't know much about containers, which, are a pretty big deal these days. And the goal? Just get it right the first time. No biggie, right? So this whole thing really boils down to a classic trade-off. The choice between compute engine and cloud run isn't just a list of features. It's a totally different way of thinking. It's a question of philosophy. Do you want to be in the driver's seat with total control? Or do you want to hit the easy button and go for simplicity? Okay, let's break down the big differences here. On the Cloud Run side, it's serverless. That just means Google handles all the messy infrastructure stuff for you. It can even scale all the way down to 0 if no one's using your app, which is awesome for your wallet because you only pay when it's actually running. Now, on the other hand, you have Compute Engine. That's what we call infrastructure as a service. Here, you're the manager. The virtual machine is always on, you pay for that uptime, and you get things like persistent disks, which let you store data right there on the machine.
Right, so that whole scale to 0 thing sounds great for saving money, doesn't it? But our developer was thinking ahead and asked a really smart question. Okay, what's the catch? They were worried about a warm-up period, what a lot of us call a cold start. That little bit of lag you might get when the very first person hits your app after it's been idle, and a new server has to spin up from nothing.
And then there's the other big concept, persistent disks. Just think of this like a virtual hard drive that you attach to your machine. It's super important if your app needs to save files or keep track of things right there on the server. But our developer's app was a pretty simple CRUD app. Create, read, update, delete. It was probably going to use a separate database anyway. So they were right to ask, is this even a feature I need to worry about? Okay, so feeling a bit overwhelmed, RuKindCucumber did what any smart person would do. They asked for help. They went to the Reddit community, and wow, did people come through with some absolutely fantastic advice that really started to make things click. And this comment from a user named GooseClip is it's pure gold. They said, you have to think about the man hours too. And that is so, so true. The cheapest option on your bill isn't always the cheapest overall. All that time you'd spend setting up, updating, and just managing a virtual machine, that's a real cost. With serverless stuff like Cloud Run, all that headache, it's just gone. It's handled for you. So the overall consensus from the community was super clear. If you're new to the cloud and you're in a hurry, just start with Cloud Run. It's way easier. They made a great point that for a stateless app, you just hook it up to a database like Cloud SQL or Firestore. Problem solved. Someone also threw in App Engine as another great easy button option. And really importantly, they helped calm those fears about cold starts, saying that for most apps with regular traffic, it's not really a big deal. All right, so armed with all this great advice from the community, our developer decided to do a little digging of their own before pulling the trigger. And this is where the story gets really interesting, because what they found, well, it pretty much changed everything. So they did exactly the right thing. To make a smart choice, they decided to check how much memory their app was actually using while running on their laptop. And the first number they saw was, well, let's just say it was a little alarming. 1.2 gigabytes? Wow. Just sitting there doing nothing? An app that heavy would be pretty expensive to run, no matter where you put it. A number like that would have you thinking you need a big, beefy, and pricey virtual machine. It totally complicates the decision. But then, they had that classic aha moment. They realized they were measuring the wrong thing. They were looking at their development server, which has all this extra baggage running for debugging and stuff. So they did a proper production build of the app and checked the memory usage of that.
160 megabytes. That's it. That's a massive difference, like almost 8 times smaller. This was the real game changer. Suddenly, their app wasn't this big, scary memory monster. It was actually super lean and a perfect fit for a small, cheap serverless option. And folks, this is probably the biggest lesson of the whole story right here. Your dev machine is not production. You absolutely have to measure how your app performs when it's built for real. If you just make assumptions based on how it runs in dev mode, you could end up going down a totally wrong and way more expensive path. So now they had the real data, they had the advice from the community, and suddenly the right choice became crystal clear. So let's see how this whole quest ended and what we can all take away from it.
And there you have it, the final decision. After everything, they said, I think I'll try Cloud Run first. Makes total sense, right? With a lightweight app and a need to move fast and keep things simple, Cloud Run was the clear winner. A really great end to their journey.
So, okay, how do you use this for your own projects? Well, this little chart breaks it down pretty nicely. Look, if what you need is maximum control, I'm talking custom operating systems, special hardware, the whole 9 yards, then Compute Engine is your go-to. But if your main goals are simplicity, getting to market fast, and saving cash on an app that doesn't have tons of traffic all the time, then yeah, a serverless choice like Cloud Run is almost always the right place to begin.
You know, this developer found their golden path, and they did it by asking smart questions, actually listening to the answers, and, this is the big one, by measuring the right things. So I'll leave you with this question. When it's time to launch your next big thing, what will be the golden path for your project?